Is this just fantasy? No, not really. So, a while back, I was talking with a friend, and I believe I recorded it, maybe, and we were talking about visual things that we love about fantasy, or we would want to talk about maybe in the future. And I thought I could come up with something just audio, talking about it, discussing it, that would make it interesting, but let's be honest, I think just showing things is going to be a lot better. So that's what this is now. So I'm going to be talking about fantasy with regards to how it's been visually represented in various formats, with a special focus on comics, because I make comics. I love comics. It's not just going to be comics. I'm going to talk about the history of illustration of fantasy. So this is like book covers, illustrated interiors to books. We're going to get into films. We're going to get into video games, board games, card games. Probably. We may cover toys. I don't know. We'll talk about favorite or beloved artists. We might go to a Renaissance fair or two. I don't know. But when it comes to the comics, we're going to do all sorts of stuff here. We're going to do classic stuff, mainstay stuff, like Conan or Red Sonja, or I guess it's just those two, I suppose. We're going to do obscure old stuff, new obscure stuff, the best classics, personal favorites, new stuff, indie stuff, and big magazines of yesteryear. I will be talking about new comics that come out and give recommendations or just talk about them generally. One thing I don't want to do is get into just hardcore reviewing. I want this to be a positive channel. I only want to do stuff that I am going to feel good about putting out there. So you're not going to see anything where I'm just going to tear down something that I hate, because I don't want to waste my time or energy on stuff I hate. I'll just not talk about it. We're going to stick to fantasy. So, sorry, sci-fi people, we're just doing fantasy. There may be, you could say, some sci-fi elements to some things that we cover, but for the most part, it's just going to be fantasy. And part of the reason that I'm doing this is to help get my own work out there. So, I'm a comic creator, and I have several comics that I create and I'm putting out there. One of them that I've been doing for over 8 years now is 3-Panel Origin. That is a comedy series where I create a character and tell their origin in 3 panels. And it's usually something along the lines of it's an embarrassing superpower, or there's something a little bit weird or off about it. It's kind of in the same realm as, say, The Tick. And I put out new ones every Thursday. I have a collected first 3 years volume that you can have on your shelf. And I also have 3PO Comics, which is a set of a couple of different stories with some of the characters that I've created in 3-Panel Origin. I also have Side Questers, my fantasy book about a noble warrior who has to work with and eventually become best friends with this giant lizard man. It's got comedy, it's got adventure, action, it's got the heartfelt stuff, it's got world building, it's got all the things that I love about fantasy. And I have the first 8 issues collected in a volume. I also have the individual issues available for purchase. And if you just are curious about it and want to read it, it's also available on Global Comics. And also, speaking of Global Comics, I also have a anthology series called Haxan, which is about magic users and it's just a series of short stories that I've done. It's set in the same world as Side Questers, so they're companion books. I've released two physical volumes of it, volumes 1 and 2. I'm continually working on and writing additional stories. I do at least one kind of bigger story every Halloween, so I have that. And that's what I'm going to do for promotion. There's just promote myself. And occasionally I'll promote other people I know who have their own creator-owned work. Because it's hard to be a creator without a publisher, but I'm going to do the best I can. So yeah, welcome to the new Is This Just Fantasy? We're going to have a lot of fun, or at least I am. I say we, and I guess I'm including you in that. But it could also be that I'm including other people who will hop on the show and help me out and do stuff. Don't know who yet, but somebody will. It's going to be a fun time. So to finish this out, we're just going to talk about a random comic. We're just going to go ahead and look through it. I haven't even read this one yet, so I'm not going to be able to have any insights into the story. We're just going to talk about it visually just so you can get a sense of what to expect in these videos. So here we have Conan the Barbarian, issue 158. So right away, I'm just gonna say out loud that I'm a huge fan of John Buscema. So you're gonna see a lot of work by John Buscema in this channel, basically because he is incredible. Just an incredible artist, great draftsman, always had a great line of inkers to go along with him, and just a massive talent. Right here we have clearly, back in the days when a cover basically told you exactly what to expect inside the book, this appears to be a werewolf story. And while the character there looks like Red Sonja, it is not. It is specifically, it looks like a werewolf woman. So just going to hop in, and right away, just some amazing imagery here. We have this gorgeous line work here representing the heat of the desert sun. Amazing horses here. Just a real sense of the anatomy. But most importantly, we have a man in a box. One could assume that this is Conan, and he is dragged around. Well, let's just make sure. Oh wait, no, it is not Conan. Sorry. Appears to be the woman in the box. So, and I believe this is Conan, because if we go by the front, Conan's in a blue shirt in this one. So it looks like he is witnessing these men drag this poor woman in a box through the desert. He kills them, frees her, takes care of her. Now that's one side of Conan that nobody talks too much about. And I'll just go ahead and say there's probably going to be a lot of Barbarian comics and such on this channel, just because that seems to be a character type that a lot of writers enjoy. And it's probably because they're going off of, the original Barbarian here in Conan. But one thing that I feel like a lot of them miss, and a lot of them, or at least they don't include for whatever reason, is that Conan isn't just a big, dumb guy with a sword who's just aggressive, who's just a wrecking ball on muscular, toned legs.
He is somebody with a moral code. He's somebody who will uh, save a trapped woman in a box and and look after them. So like he is somebody who has a sense of morality and also like knows like, oh, uh, I need to look out for people who are weaker than me. And he is a barbarian, so like if you cross him, you're gonna have to face that. But he's also not just a a strong sword arm. He is more than that. It looks like we're meeting other people. So something that I enjoy about Buscema and about the way he depicts this world, because one of the things that I haven't mentioned, of course, is this is Conan the Barbarian, and this is a genre of fantasy that I guess I'm going to have to come back to a lot, which is it takes place on Earth, but it is a high fantasy time of the Earth. It is during the period basically between the rise of like Atlantis and Lemuria and Hyperborea and the rise of like modern civilization. So let's say like Mesopotamia and Egypt and all that, and the Aztec and Mayans, and basically when history as we know it starts for human civilization. So this takes place in this mythic era, way before that, and so like as far as costuming goes, it's kind of vague past, a vague past timeline. But what I really love is that like he tries as hard as he can to make sure that it looks like fabrics and clothing that is appropriate not only for the region but for the time. And I feel like that gives you a great sense of place, a great sense of time, and it feels like a world that you can buy, rather a world that you can understand visually. And I think that's really important when representing fantasy. Something I'm going to come back to over and over again is that I don't feel like every art style is applicable to fantasy. There are some artists that I think are amazing at depicting the modern world and modern people, modern clothes, modern items, and yet when they go back try to represent a fantasy world, they kind of just transpose all the same kinds of mark making and visual style to a different age. And for one reason or another, I mean, I guess I'll get into it when it comes up, it just doesn't work as well for me. Um, but here, I don't know. I really love like little things like, the headscarf here, and then of course in this page we just have like a lovely setting. I love how these lines just fade away, and it just kind of opens it up, even though we know that there's more curtain there. Great use of color too. I just really love the green isolating her there, and just the kind of rim of darkness we have in this space. It's really wonderful. And also just yeah, it just you can never get a better seated posture than something that John Buscema draws, frankly. Um, so we have our moment of peace after he's rescued the woman in the box, but peace doesn't last too long, and we are met with this werewolf, which this is an amazing werewolf. And I gotta say, I'm a sucker for werewolves, and I just think that it comes down to adjusting the anatomy appropriately. And we have like a kind of a little bit of a longer torso. We have huge traps back here, like really great forearms. Look at that hand. And we also, I like this werewolf. It's got this kind of, these big, almost like bat-like ears. It's like, you got the moon in the back. It is an amazing werewolf. And I would expect no less from Big John Buscema. But yeah, just incredible stuff. We get a great battle between Conan and a werewolf, which, man, if I was a kid back then, like, this is all I would want. All I would want to entertain me for, months and months, just going back and looking at this fight between Conan and a werewolf. Just great visual balance in the pages, but also just like off balance. Like you're feeling the pull of the energy going down, like here, and and also just the intensity of this fight. It is pretty one-sided. This werewolf, like, he's keeping himself just out of harm's way, but this werewolf is about to kill him. It's just really incredible stuff. Really love this, like, silhouette, like going into silhouette and darkness, and just like the stretch. You can get a sense of that speed of the werewolf escaping here. And then we have the respite here, and everybody's kind of trying to figure out, what the hell happened. Love this expression. Look at this guy's expression. That says it all. I mean, it really means a lot when you can express something just visually and get the sense of it. So, like, I'm just saying right now, like, John Buscema drew this, and I believe most likely, let me just check, Roy Thomas writing it? No, Michael Fleisher. Okay, so John Buscema came out with the plot. Michael Fleisher came up with the dialogue. Okay, so and of course, Rudy Nebres for inks. Amazing stuff. George Roussos. I mean, you got an amazing set of people working on this book. I got Larry Hama editing this book. This is the Jim Shooter era. Interesting. But what I really think is great is, because you have the artists coming up with the plot, the whole story is told visually. Like, I'm not reading any words here at all. I'm just talking about the visuals, and you're getting such a great, clear sense of the story and how everybody feels, and the back and forth and all of this. You even get these quiet, moody panels right here, which I love panels like this. It's just, it makes it more than just action, action, action. It's like, this is a place that you can experience. That's what I really love about panels like that. So, but yeah, we're getting the story entirely visually, and I think that's to, homage to the Marvel method and letting artists tell the story visually, and also, like, be a plotter, for instance, in this case. Just amazing stuff. I guess you're gonna find out sooner rather than later that I am a big proponent of writer artists. You're gonna see several writer artists that I absolutely adore, and I'm gonna speak their love for a long time. It's gonna be longer videos for that one for sure. So I really got to point this out. I really love the composition of this panel. I just love these the boulders up in front, or the rock formations in front. This fire tendril just snaking up the panel. Love the colorist choices with this, like, red sky. I even love isolating them in the red, like they're being illuminated by the sky. We have this cool blue sand. It really gives you a sense of, like, the time of day, especially the transition across the page, going from, it looks like there's a dark sky, but at least the sand is yellow. It's still, it's at the early stages of the sunset. But then as we go across the panel, we eventually get to this cooler panel where we are at the very end of the sunlight. And that's when we have our dark section here, and she is, at the mercy here of these gentlemen. But I feel like that they're here looking for her. But these guys, it looks like they are what they're holding them hostage. It was a trap. And also, I like how we're representing, different factions by color. Like, there's some differences in their costuming. Their helmets are all uniform. You can tell they're aligned together. Great, real sword in the scabbard. Really love that. But using color to isolate them is different. And yeah, and then it looks like we're about to get a big battle. Yeah, right here. Look at this. Look at this fight panel right here. Really love that. Like, that's amazing. This guy looks like he threw a knife and killed this guy. That's amazing. That's also a great panel. You can get the motion in there. The posture of the post throw is very clear. Just fantastic. But yeah, like, I love these battles because, like, I can hear the sword clinks in my head. I can hear the shouts and the yells, and it's just this tangle of bodies as, like, a big battle like this would be. And it's kind of, it's intense and crazy. There's disembodied sword arms swinging with all their might. It's just wonderful as far as, like, representing that. And that's another important thing when it comes to a lot of fantasy, is how it depicts action and the choices made here. And I just love how this is kind of a messy panel, because we're only seeing, like, parts of anybody, and, like, it's mostly, like, people mid swing, and we're seeing lots of figures, like, obscured by others, and it's just this tangled mess. But I think that's what sells it, as it's this big intense thing, and I really love that. Yeah, this is great. So we're having this fight, and then just as the fight's happening, which, look at this fucking panel. Look at that. These great silhouette, like, clearly looks like a fight. Like, there's no mistaking that right there. That's like this big ball of combat here. And then you have the light of the moon, and I just love how Rudy Nebres inked it with just these hazy hash marks, and then the haze going down here. Just such a great choice. And then the light it's even like, this is like from, like, the light of the moon here, and how the moon just kind of almost melts with the cliff face there. It's just amazing. And then right here we get an awesome transition. Love this middle stage. I love that Buscema was okay, like, because I feel like there's even a tendency for some artists to, like, even my female werewolf has to be, like, pretty, or it has to be feminized, but, like, not so much here. Like, this is just a woman becoming this beast, and I'm all for it. And just great lettering there. Really love that. But yeah, all bets are off in this fight. And another great coloring choice. Look at these like, kind of orange or, like, salmony, like, highlights here. As like the record scratch of the howl stops the fight. Just incredible stuff. And then here we have the werewolf coming at this fight, and it's now everybody versus the werewolf, and that's the kind of werewolves I love. I really love this idea of a werewolf that it takes an army to take on. Like, that's a real genuine threat. Look at these crazy feet. I didn't notice. Look at these ape feet that we have here on this werewolf. It's like their hands as well. That's a really interesting and great creative choice. I really love that. Also, gotta love these spotted shadows here on the figure. That just really pulls the sinewy muscles out, and just great inking work all around by Rudy. Just so good. And I love just the physicality of this werewolf, like, launching headlong into this group of people. Look at this guy getting, like, flipped over right here. Just like it is chaos. This werewolf biting the hell out of this guy. I actually have a panel in one of my comics that's of one of my characters biting somebody like that. And of course, Buscema did it better. But hey, I'll be the next John Buscema one day, maybe. Probably not, but I'll be the next me. Yeah, and then we have like people not sure if they want to continue the fight, and also like I'm gonna take this advantage, and I guess this guy knows that his daughter, which I guess to gather that his daughter was a werewolf. Oh, and looks like there's a rogue crossbow here, and Conan is trying to fight, trying to figure out what he's going to do about this werewolf, and then the werewolf looks like it gets an arrow to the neck, and it's the father. The father killed their own daughter. I mean, that's classic werewolf stuff. That goes all the way back to the 1941 Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. One of my favorites, like just great werewolf, but like in that one, spoilers for a movie that's from the 40s, his own father kills him as a werewolf, although in this case he does not know that it's his son. But in this one, which I think is even more tragic, this father knows that this werewolf is his daughter, and yet he makes the choice of killing her rather than letting her go on be a monster. Now that's fatherhood right there. That's fatherhood. Yeah, so that's pretty amazing. We get another transition, which again is another classic Wolfman thing. And then like this great transition back to our lovely redhead, because who at Marvel didn't love a redhead at the time, and we get this final moment of him with his daughter. Great body language, a great little pieta pose right here. Clutching his dead daughter. Really sweet, really tender. Which again, in a book called Conan the Barbarian, would you expect to have this close up of an old man shedding a tear for his daughter that he had to kill because she was a werewolf? Like, just really great tender stuff. It shows that there's a lot more dimension to a character called the Barbarian than most people probably would assume. And just we get our hero riding off not into the sunset but into the moonlight here. Just one more great set of horses here. Just great body language on the horse and his immense rider. And also lovely colored panel here. I mean, I'm a big fan of the 4-color process, so this is just real beautiful and luscious to me. And it's a little misregistered, which is actually adds just a little extra, I don't know, like analog beauty to it. But I believe that's it. We're at the very end. Ooh. And there's a little fantasy bonus, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons video game. The video game looked like this, I guess. But a really fun little illustration here of like a dungeon. We got like a ghost or a ghast or a ghoul or something. An archer or yeoman. Nice little green attire. Facing off what appears to be a dragon or something. There's these cool like snakes here, probably like a Hydra-esque thing. Got like caves in the back here. Always happy to see a skeleton. Looks like this guy didn't make it. Like, really selling the atmosphere of Dungeons and Dragons in a single image, so that you're selling this maybe less than stellar visual on that in television. But so that was Conan number 158, or what we can come to call Conan the Barbarian meets the Wolfman, or rather she-wolf of the desert. So anyway, that is our first little edition of Is This Just Fantasy? The visual component, or the visual version. Thanks for joining me, and hope you like it, and hope you come back and look at other things I make.
Thanks for watching, if you did. Goodbye.